Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmeen. Inshallah, in this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about Zakat ul-Maal. We normally remind each other at the masjid, inshallah, but because of the COVID-19 and so on, many of us are not coming to the masjid. So, I want to use this opportunity to remind myself and everyone else about the importance of Zakat ul-Maal. First and foremost, know that Zakat ul-Maal is not related to Ramadan. It doesn't have to be given in Ramadan. It's not related to your fast. Zakatul Fitr is. That's why I did the previous video on Zakatul Fitr. However, Zakatul Mal, many people, in fact most Muslims, they tend to give their zakat in Ramadan. Okay, so and that's why I want to remind you about it, inshallah, and so make sure that we do it in a proper way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it. So first and foremost, the evidence for it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran in many places, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, and establish the salah and give the zakat. Zakat is the zakatul mal here. The Prophet said in Hadith, بُنِيَ الْإِسْلَامُ عَلَى خَمْسٍ, that Islam is built on 5 pillars. Among them is zakat, وَإِيتَاءُ الزَّكَاةِ, and giving the zakat. And there are many other forms of evidence, inshallah, will suffice with that. What is the ruling of giving zakat? It is an obligation. Fardun ayn, it's an obligation on the individual, okay, that must give zakat. So you can't say, well, somebody is already giving zakat in my family, that's fine. No, it looks at your wealth, and you have to give zakat based on your wealth, which we're going to talk about inshallah ta'ala. So who has to pay zakat? Zakat is an obligation upon every Muslim, adult or minor, sane or not sane. Okay, so every adult Muslim or Muslim child that is sane, or even someone that is not sane, which in general we know that the Sharia lifts the burden of those who are not sane. However, zakat has to do with the wealth itself. So once that wealth is there and that person that owns it is Muslim, zakat must be given. Even if it's a child that owns the wealth or an adult, even if that person is sane or not sane, the zakat must be given on that wealth. So we'll talk a little bit about it. So this tells us that if a child has wealth and zakat has to be given, who's going to give it? The wali, the parent or the guardian who's in charge will give zakat on behalf of the child. Because you know, some of our children, they have accounts, bank accounts and so on. To sum it up basically, and we're going to talk more about it in detail, there are 2 main elements that need to be there, or 2 conditions for the zakat. The amount of wealth that you have, and there are specific forms of wealth. Not everything is considered to be a zakatable form of wealth. It must reach the nisab. The nisab is basically the minimum amount of money that you must have for your zakat to be an obligation upon you. The nisab, specifically as it has to do with cash, because most of us, we're going to give zakat in a form of cash based on the cash that we have. The nisab is about $4,700, $4,700. If you notice, it increased drastically from last year. Okay, and zakat is tied to the price of gold. Okay, so gold prices went up, so zakat, the nisab went up. So that means if you have $4,700 or more, anything more than that, then you have to give 2.5% of your wealth. And we're going to talk about the wealth and exactly how it's given. So before we get into that, I want you to understand why we give zakat and the reason behind it and so on. And the second thing is the hawl, meaning that that money or that wealth should have been there for 1 year. For 1 year. As relates specifically to cash and gold and so on. Now, what is the wisdom behind zakat? What is the wisdom behind zakat? It's legislated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to create some type of social compassion, and it kind of distributes the wealth in such a way that if there are anyone that is poor and needy, they will also be given some of the wealth from those who are rich. Okay, and we'll see that zakat doesn't only go to the poor and needy. There are 8 categories, but they are the main category: the poor and the needy, the fuqara wal masakin. Zakat, to know the benefit of zakat, one of the best ways to explain it is through the language itself. The word zakat revolves around some main concepts. The word itself, It revolves around purification, because when you give zakat, you're purifying your wealth. Your wealth becomes pure. And when you give zakat, you're purifying yourself as well. Also, it revolves around the meaning of growth and numu. When you give zakat, your wealth is going to grow. Your wealth will grow. Okay, now you may ask, how is that? I'm giving money from my money is depreciating. People of taqwa, people of iman, they understand this concept. When you give, Allah increases. Your wealth is not only what you have there, your wealth is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decree for you. And Allah will give, He gives and He takes. So if the one that gives the wealth is saying that He increases your wealth and your wealth grows basically when you give zakat, who are we to question? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all knowledgeable, and He's all able to do everything. And it revolves around the meaning of tazkiyah, or blessing. So the zakat inshallah will be a blessing for our wealth. It will bless our wealth, and it will bless the person that gave the zakat, inshallah ta'ala. So that's enough about the wisdom. Zakat is not the same as a tax. The zakat is actually a form of worship. It's a form of ibadah. One of the pillars of Islam, as you mentioned. So when you give it, you should have the intention of a taqarrub ila Allah, intention that you're getting closer to Allah by you giving the zakat. You're worshipping Allah by you giving zakat. You're doing something that's pleasing to Allah. You want Allah to accept it from you. So this sense must be there when you give zakat. Zakat is not just like you pay your telephone bill. No. Yes, it's a bill that must be paid, but this is an act of worship. All right. 8 categories really quickly. In the Quran, Allah mentions who should receive the zakat. Really briefly, because this can be very extensive if we explain it. The first category is the poor. Second category, the destitute. The poor and the destitute, basically, or the poor and the needy. Next, those who work in the distribution of zakat, like in big countries where zakat is a huge task to distribute. You may use some of it to pay the workers. Also, those whose hearts needs to be reconciled, and those hearts who need to be, brought closer to Islam. الْمُؤَلَّفَةُ قُلُوبِهِمْ. So, someone that, for instance, you want to bring them closer to Islam, you can give them zakat. Also, number 5, freeing those who are locked up and those who are in bondage. Number 6, those who are indebted for the benefit of the community. Someone has taken a very big loan and they have to pay it back, but the loan was taken for the benefit of the community. Number 7, those in the path of Allah, which includes everyone who's fighting to defend Islam. And number 8, those travelers who have been cut off. So the wayfarers, basically. Those are the 8 categories of people that receive zakat. Next, the major conditions for the zakat, as I mentioned, is the nisab. So to talk about the nisab differs from the type of wealth. So if it's cash or gold, basically, it's going to be 4,700, as I mentioned, or 85 grams of gold. 85 grams of gold. So when you have that amount and above, you're going to give 2.5% of it. Somebody has $10,000 and they're giving zakat on $10,000. That's going to be $250, right? $250. If somebody, for instance, has a business and they have tradable goods, like they have a store where they buy and sell, so all of that inventory needs to be taken, and you convert inventory, the worth of the inventory from last year to this year. You evaluate it, and you give, if it's past the nisab, which is $4,700, you give 2.5% of it. If somebody has livestock, which some people in our community may have livestock, for cows, if you have 30 cows or more, you give, for every 30, you give one cow. If you have goats or sheep, for every 40 goats or sheep, you give one. If someone has jewelry either in silver or gold, if it's gold that they have, 85 grams of gold, they give 2.5% of it, rubul ashr, right? Rubul ashri. And if they have 595 grams of silver, they give 2.5% of that. Now you can give based on the value of it. So you can give whatever you have in cash. So even if you have a cow and you have 30 cows and you have to give one, you could give the value of the cow in cash, right? Similar when it comes to gold. If you have a bunch of jewelry, you have to give zakat, you can give the worth, the value of 2.5% of that jewelry. The second thing is that wealth must have been there for 1 year. That wealth must have been there for 1 year. So to sum it up, basically, if a rich uncle passed away, died, and left you some money, inheritance, and you collected that money in the month of, let's say, so it's the Islamic calendar that we look at, right? So let's say you collected it in Muharram, the first month of the Islamic calendar. Okay, some of you don't understand. Okay, I'm gonna explain it in the regular months. Let's say in January you collected a lump sum of wealth. You collected $20,000 from inheritance. Obviously, $20,000 is way past $4,700, so you got to give 2.5%, right? But it's only due when that wealth has been there for 1 year. So next year, January, you will give that 2.5%. In terms of the Islamic calendar, if you collected it in Muharram, Ramadan comes, it's not due in Ramadan, it's due next Muharram. Okay? It's due next Muharram. However, it is okay for many people to give their monthly zakat in Ramadan, because they're seeking the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of them are trying to do it in Laylatul Qadr. That's fine, that's good, inshallah, may Allah accept it. But the wealth is basically an obligation. Zakat is an obligation based on the hawl. It must be there for 1 year. Another thing is that when you receive money, sometimes we receive money at all different times of the year, and it's very hard for us to keep track of it, to know when that exact amount of wealth has been there for 1 year. So the best advice that I can give is that you do it as you do your taxes every year, whatever month you choose, Islamic month, right? So let's say you do Ramadan, then make sure you look at the amount of money you had in your account from last year and this year. If the nisab was maintained, then what do? You give the 2.5% of whatever you have, inshallah ta'ala, because it's very hard to track of every individual deposit that you make in your account. What else is there to be mentioned? Okay, if you give zakat, you're giving zakat someone, you don't have to tell them it's zakat. The reason why is you may have someone that you want to give zakat to, and they may be embarrassed to know that they're collecting zakat. Some people may actually qualify for zakat, but they just don't want to accept zakat. They can't accept the fact that they reached that level, and they feel embarrassed to collect zakat. You can give it to them as a gift. Okay, and a smart person, if you really want to help someone, there are many ways you can help them. You don't have to tell them it's zakat. You can help them in many different ways. Okay, so if there's someone that you know that needs help, reach out to them, and may Allah make it easy for them and for all of us. Ameen. Now, what is the consequence of not paying zakat? Okay, if someone doesn't pay their zakat, there are worldly consequences and consequences in the hereafter. Put it like this: a lot of people within the Muslim Ummah are going through poverty now, and because people don't pay their zakat. Okay, people don't pay. If everyone paid their zakat the way they should, the billionaires and the millionaires and even the guys who just have a little bit, they give their zakat, inshallah, we can get rid of poverty. Okay, and the Muslims, inshallah, will be in a much better condition. So the consequences of not paying the zakat, as we mentioned, is a pillar of Islam. So they're breaking one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Some scholars have held that they are not Muslims. Okay, some scholars have held that opinion. Someone intentionally does not pay the zakat. Okay, and others say that they're still Muslim, but they're sinful. They're sinful. So the worldly consequence is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may cause you to lose your wealth because you have not been paying a zakat, or you did not pay a zakat, or you may lose your property, or some type of calamity may afflict you because that person did not pay the zakat. May Allah protect us from it. Illness may betake us or betake our family members. So this is a serious situation. We must always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to do what is pleasing to Him, and to bless us, bless our family members, and fulfill the obligations that He has put upon us. The Prophet ﷺ said in hadith, whenever an amount of wealth is destroyed in the land or the sea, it could be because the zakat was not given on that amount of wealth. Okay. You may see someone's house being burned down. I mean, it doesn't always have to be this way. House being burned down, sickness upon sickness, all different forms of wealth being destroyed. Okay, it could be because those people did not pay their zakat. Zakat also, the Prophet ﷺ said that zakat is never mixed with any amount of wealth without destroying or rotting that wealth. Meaning, if you have wealth and there's zakat that is due, you don't take the zakat out of your wealth and give it to one of the 8 categories. Then what happens? That zakat will destroy all of that wealth, destroy it. Okay. Another consequence, and this is a very scary hadith, but the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that the ones in hadith, I'm going to read the translation. Anyone who has wealth on which he did not pay the zakat on the day of resurrection, then that wealth will turn into or made to resemble a snake, a serpent, and the snake will wrap itself around that person who did not pay the zakat, and it will say to the person, "Ana maluk, I'm your wealth. Ana kenzuk, I am your wealth that you hoarded and you did not give the zakat on." May Allah protect us from that. Ameen. Now, what about giving to family members? This is an important question that many people ask. Can I give zakat, ul-Maal, to my family members? Can I give it to my my children or parents or whoever it may be? Zakat ul-Maal cannot be given to the usul or the furu'. Usul are the people who you came into this world by means of them. Meaning your father, your fathers and mothers and grandmothers and grandfathers and grandparents. You cannot give zakat to them. Why? Because you're responsible to take care of them. You can't use your zakat money for them. You have to use your regular money that you work for and take care of them. And as well as the furu', which are the children basically, and grandchildren. So you cannot give zakat ul-Maal to your children or grandchildren. However, you can give zakat ul-Maal to everyone that is not from the usul or the furu'. You may give to a brother or sister that's needy, or a cousin, or an aunt or an uncle that is needy. And scholars of the opinion that you can even give it. Now this is important. A husband cannot give zakat to the wife, okay, because his responsibility to take care of his wife. Whereas the wife, if she has wealth and Allah has blessed her, and her husband is in need of the zakat, which can happen, this can happen, then she can give zakat ul-Maal to her husband. Okay, this is permissible. So that sums it up for the people that you can give to. Another question: what if, I know a lot of people are going through difficulties during the COVID-19. Some people are laid off. Some people, they don't have any income, or the income is less than it used to be. May Allah make it easy for everyone and all of us. We're all in this together, and we have to think about one another, help one another. However, you still have to pay zakat, and zakat has nothing to do with your income. Zakat has to do with the stored wealth that you have. So even though you might have lost your income, and you're worried about, your money is going to depreciate because you don't have that income coming in, if you have the nisab, 4,700 or more, and that money has been there for a year, you still have to give the zakat. Give it. You never know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most merciful. By you giving the zakat, Allah can provide for you and make your situation better. And zakat is not a lot. It's not a lot of money. It's 2.5%. So it has nothing to do with your income. But it has to do with the stored wealth that is there. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to. There are many other questions I'm sure you may have. You can send me those messages privately, please, because I know when it comes to money, people may, they want to keep this private, which is fine. Reach out to me, and if it's something beneficial, I will share the question and answer to the group, inshallah, without revealing who asked the question, inshallah ta'ala. Next, look out for a video. I'm going to put a video to talk about Eid, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan. May Allah accept from us our zakat and our zakat ul-Maal and zakat ul-Fitr, and make this month easy for us. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاك الله خيرا.